Good afternoon. Here we go with chapter 19. Ochek tended to the wolf's wounds. Eric watched with great interest and occasionally fetched one thing or another from Ochek's pack. Morgan wasn't interested so much in what Ochek was doing. She wasn't even sure that she wanted the wolf to live. Instead, she kept wondering to herself, if they saved the wolf, what would stop him from stalking them again? Had she and Eli made a mistake in pleading for the beast's life? Having the wolf mere feet away from both of them did not help matters. It caused Morgan to question things all the more. Eli remained terrified. "You okay?" she asked. She had her arms wrapped protectively around him. She craned her neck around to see his face. He was staring at the animal, at the gaping wound, at his open mouth and his razor-sharp teeth. Maybe picturing his own blood on the ground rather than the wolf's. What could have been? "I don't want him to die," he whispered. "I don't want anyone to die." For a moment, the only sound was the wolf's labored breathing. "If he dies, he dies," Morgan said. "We did everything we could. He kind of did it to himself." Ochek was protecting you," Morgan said. "He was protecting all of us." They watched Ochek work. He looked as though he were conducting a symphony, the way his paws moved fluidly from one task to another. He'd brought medicines with him, and he'd ground these medicines in a bowl with a tool that looked like a miniature baseball bat. From there, he'd made a paste with sap and snow, suspending it over the fire until it began to bubble. With the paste ready, he covered the wolf's wounds with it, the ones inflicted by his hatchet and the torches. Eric administered strips of hide to the wounds. Finally, Ochek made tea for the wolf, using different medicines and pine. He hung the pot over the fire using the spit, and there was nothing else to do while they waited for the water to boil. Morgan and Eli stared at the wolf, while the wolf struggled to breathe, groaning every once in a while. Each time he groaned, he placed his paw over the hatchet wound. Blood was soaking through the strip of hide that Eric had placed there. Seeing the red stains forming on the hide, Eric approached the wolf and applied pressure on the wound to try to stem the flow of blood. The wolf snarled and swatted at Eric, and she only narrowly dodged the strike. "You're going to bleed to death, dumb wolf," Eric said, stubbornly staying where she was, her paws pressed down on the wound. "What do you care?" the wolf asked. Eric pressed down a slight bit harder, and it made the wolf moan and look away. When he did, his eyes met Eli's. "And what do any of you care?" the wolf asked. Eli started with a trembling voice, but he couldn't force more than that one sound. "What are you staring at, boy?" the wolf growled through the pain. "Nothing," Eli said. "You don't want anyone to die," the wolf uttered, repeating what Eli had just said. "You want me to die, child. I would want the same thing." "I don't," Eli said. "I wouldn't." The wolf kept his sickly yellow eyes on him and then looked to the opening at the top of the hut where the poles met. "You might get your wish anyway, even though you won't admit it." "Stop being such a baby," Morgan said. "I never thought I'd hear a wolf pouting. Holy." "At least the girl speaks what's on her mind," the wolf said. "I never wanted you to die." Eli raised his voice, which seemed to startle the wolf. "There it is." The wolf tried to laugh, but coughed out blood. "Anger." "Why are you so mean?" Eli asked. "We're trying to help you." "I never asked for your help," the wolf said. "Yeah, you did. You literally asked for forgiveness," Morgan said. The wolf blinked a tear of pain under the corner of his eye. In the silence, Eric changed the dressing on the wolf's wound, adding a fresh strip of hide. She placed her paws on top of the new dressing, and the wolf grimaced, baring his teeth for a moment. The water started to boil, and Ochek took the small pot down. He stirred the liquid around before pouring it into a cup for the wolf. He helped the wolf raise his head, and with care he tipped the cup towards the beast's mouth. The wolf swallowed, and even that seemed to cause him agony. "I might be mean," the wolf said to Eli, "but you're weak. What would you rather be?" Well, how about just nice? Morgan said, rather than either. Who's the one who's weak now? Eli said. The wolf looked at Eli contemplatively, and then there was a spark in his yellow eyes. Maybe I was wrong, the wolf admitted. When you talk to me like that, I think maybe you can change. Should leave him alone, Morgan said. You'll see, the wolf said, the world will harden you. He nodded as though agreeing with himself. Eli shook his head. Well, if I can change, then you can change. The wolf chuckled and more blood dripped from the corner of his mouth. Eric dabbed at it. Ridiculous boy, the wolf whispered. Look at you, Eli said, trying to kill us and nearly getting killed if it hadn't been for me. Who's ridiculous? Leave me alone, the wolf said. Awas. In the morning, after they'd all woken up and had breakfast, the wolf seemed to have turned a corner. He ate a small portion of his food. His breathing was easier. His eyes were a brighter yellow. But when he tried to get up after eating, he cried out and collapsed on his back. He would live, but he was still weak and seemed in too much pain to go anywhere or do anything. For the 4 travelers, this meant it was safe to go. We'll leave you the hut, Ochek said. They'd packed everything they would need to sustain themselves before entering the green time, where the land would provide for them. They were all standing outside by the opening of the hut, while the wolf remained inside, on the ground by the fire. Tonight we'll be in the green time, Ochek continued, and I haven't slept under the stars since I was young. How adorable, the wolf said dryly. Don't make me regret my choice. If you approach us on our way back, I'll do what's in my nature, the wolf warned, as long as it's not what your master told you to do. Ochek didn't wait for the wolf to say anything back. He just turned away and started walking. Eric followed him, and the 2 animal beings made their way through the grove and into the open, where they could start on their way to the man's cabin. Eli stayed behind, and, seeing this, Morgan remained with him, but she hung back at what felt like a safe distance. Awas, the wolf said. I'll go away in a minute, Eli said. I could kill you right now, sick and all. I don't think you will. Hearing the threat, Morgan stepped closer to the pair. You don't know me, the wolf said. The wolf and the boy kept their eyes on each other, Eli standing at the entrance to the hut and the wolf laying inside. Your bandages need changing, Eli said. I'll do it myself, the wolf answered. Here. Eli crouched down to enter the hut. Hey, what are you doing? Morgan grabbed Eli's shoulder. It's okay, he said. Trust me. It's not you I don't trust, she said. He won't do anything. Eli's eyes were full of determination and assuredness, unblinking. Morgan removed her hand from his shoulder. Eli entered the hut, knelt beside the wolf, took off the bandage, which was soaked with blood. I could rip your throat out right here, you know, the wolf said. Well, then do it if you're going to, Eli said, or be quiet and let me finish dressing your wound. He placed a new strip of hide atop the wound and walked out of the hut. What's your name, boy? The wolf asked, which stopped Eli in his tracks. Eli, what's yours? Mohican. Eli just nodded at Mohican, and then he and Morgan ran off through the grove to catch up with their companions. They were standing at the edge of the summit, waiting for them.